Crime Curious is a true crime podcast that takes an in-depth look into real cases through the lens of a trained investigator and former prosecutor turned judge.
If you are sensitive to expletives, anatomical descriptions, and accurate descriptions of crime scenes, this podcast may not be suitable for you.
Welcome to Crime Curious. I'm Charnell.
I'm Megan.
We're shaking all of our good luck gree that you guys have sent us
So much.
over the years.
Yeah. I have a story for you today.
Megan, oh wait, what was the special intro?
It's some magical music thing.
Is it this one?
Sure. It is. That's how we know I'm presenting a case.
Yep.
Like 2 in the same month even.
I cannot believe this. It's such a treat for me.
And
Thank you.
What is the trend every time I do a case?
It's awful.
It's a 2-parter.
Oh
Yeah, it's awful and it's
I
a
didn't
2-parter.
I didn't mean that you do an awful job. I meant you bring
No.
us awful
I didn't take
cases.
it that way. I cannot help but dive in as deep as I possibly can when these things happen. So
I appreciate it.
one of our big fans and Patreon, Stephanie Boggs, I have permission to use her entire name.
Oh,
She was
okay.
like, yay. So thank you, Stephanie.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Recommended this case. And when she recommended it, she'd sent a private message to our Patreon page. I did a quick search and it sounded so familiar. And I think it's because this is actually an incredibly covered case, even though it is a South African case.
Oh, okay.
So this is the attack and incredible survival, bringing you survival story case
Wow.
of Alison Botha. I've heard it pronounced Botha as well. I'm just going to say Alison most of the time anyway, because it's the most humane way to address her. And she's amazing. She's just this brilliant, lovely thing. In terms of credit, I'm going to give credit right off the bat to Alison's memoir, which you now can purchase as of, like 5-10 years ago or so. You still couldn't purchase it, but now you can get it in the United States through Kindle on Amazon.
Oh, wonderful.
So it's called I Have Life, and it is Alison Botha's memoir. And then I'm also going to give the most credit to Crime Library. We've found some great stuff on Crime Library before.
Yes.
Well, on Crime Library, the author is Martin Strom. And as I refer to the author or the writer as I'm going through this, it's because I want to make sure that he has credit for some direct quotes and opinions that he has, because I really agree with this guy.
Sure.
He entitled this The Ripper Rapists.
Oh, okay.
So that gives you a little bit of an idea. And then there were 2 other articles that I'll give credit to. Olivia Alsusen, a foreign news reporter, published, this was a May of 2025 article, so a recent one. And I'm not going to name the entire thing, but just woman who was attacked, features in True Crime Podcast 30 years after attack. So she's been on some stuff recently.
Yes.
This is like coming back popular again, and there's a reason why.
Okay.
Okay.
And in case anybody's ever wondering, I'm able to, since I write my own notes, I'm able to put my resources in the show notes. When you do a case,
I always just give it to you right here.
do,
That's
yes.
why,
We have our
because we don't
different-
want to plagiarize anybody ever. And I'm very bad about sending Charnell my research and my links. So
Yeah.
I'm giving them to you
so
now.
instead of links, we give the verbal credit. Yep.
Correct.
Perfect.
All right, you ready?
Yes, I am. Here we
Right.
go.
We're going to start off with a trigger warning.
Oh, great. We're already off to a strong start.
Yep. So imagine this. You wake up with a surge of cold in your lungs. You're aware, and you're pretty sure you're alive.
Ooh.
You're outside. You can feel sand. You can feel broken glass. And you only see an arm above your face moving left and right, left and right.
Mm.
Then you hear a sound, and then it's a wet sound. And the victim of this crime could hear the sound and realize that it was her flesh being slashed open.
Oh my God.
She knows it was a he, was cutting her throat with a knife over and over again. She sees blood flinging around her, but she's not feeling any pain. And yet she knows she isn't dreaming and that this is actually happening and her throat is being slashed. The man moves away and she hears their voices drifting further from her because there are 2 of them. And so she turns onto her front to lay on the front part of her body. And she hears a strange rasping sound. And she realizes the rasping noise is coming from her slashed throat. So the sounds that are coming from her, they sound so loud to her, just your internal ear, that she's afraid that the men will hear her struggling to breathe and that they'll come back. So she tries to make the noise stop, but her breathing isn't any longer controllable from her actual lungs.
Sure.
So she tries to close the opening on her throat, but her fingers literally sink inside of her body.
Oh my God.
Then she hears two men, and they're speaking in Afrikaans, and she does hear, "Do you think she's dead?" And the other voice respond, "No one can survive that." She remains perfectly still even when she feels something fall onto her back. Then she hears the car engine and she listens as it slowly goes away. She realizes at this point that she is totally alone and she's dying. She knows that no one is going to find her in time to save her. So she does something incredibly brave. She writes the first names of the men who did this to her in the sand. And then she writes, "I love Mum," below it.
Oh my God.
In her, right? Take a deep breath.
Yeah. Holy shit.
In her book, Alison describes that she felt herself drifting up, floating some 10 feet above that woman in the dirt.
Of course.
Her body. We've heard this again. She says she looked down at her body and she was feeling peace and, like she quoted, a benevolence. And she realized then that she could choose either to drift away from all of the pain or she could go back and fight to live. She described in her memoir that she at first wanted to float because it was peaceful and there was no fear. But then she remembered that there was so much that she wanted to do and she wanted to live. She sees headlights through the foliage, a car on the road, and then she's back inside her own body. So as she's floating up above, she can see to the road and she can see a headlight, and that like brings her back into herself. As she starts to try to sit up or get up, she feels a wetness in her stomach. Here's another trigger alert. Her intestines are outside of her body.
Okay.
She tries to gather them and to put them back in, but they're slimy and she's struggling to hold on to her own innards. The sheer amount of organs and intestine that she's holding is unreal to her. And as we're aware, the adult small intestine, it's about 23 feet long.
Right.
In the end, she realizes it can't be done. And next to her is a piece of material. This is what the men threw on her back earlier. It's her denim shirt that they threw at her.
That's what she felt up against her back.
So she grabs it and she packs her organs inside of it and then pulls it close against her to hold her organs in her body. She starts crawling, struggling through the dirt and the broken glass with her one hand holding her shirt. With each moment, she's getting increasingly tired. I mean, imagine the blood she's lost at this point, Charnell.
I mean, I can't. I like how I sit here and say, like it sounds reasonable, but that someone could just carry their insides on the outside of their body.
Imagine, right.
I could never, Megan.
She's got this opening in her stomach and this opening in her neck,
Yeah.
and she's just bleeding everywhere. So at some point, as she's crawling toward the road, she collapses into the sand exhausted. But she thinks about her mom and she keeps going. So she pushes herself up and she realizes that crawling is not working. It's taking too long and she's losing time and stamina. So this woman somehow manages to get to her feet.
Oh my gosh.
And using all of her energy, she stands up and then promptly sees only black.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to stop and I'm going to take you back to the beginning.
Okay.
We're going to go to December 18th, 1994, around 1 a.m. So this is just a couple hours before the events I just described.
Okay.
We're in Port Elizabeth, South Africa. And there's really no reason to believe that it's not just another beautiful day spent in South Africa. Alison Botha is a young woman. She's 27 years old. She's an insurance broker and she's living in Port Elizabeth. After a perfect day at the beach with her friends, Port Elizabeth being one of the largest cities in South Africa, everybody had gone back to Alison's apartment to eat pizza and play balderdash. Remember that game? Oh my
gosh. Yes. Yeah. So wholesome. What a great day.
Well, that night she had promised to drop off one of her friends, Kim, after their excursion. And now it was around 1 a.m. on Sunday morning. On her return home, Alison discovered that she'd lost her very convenient car parking spot right outside her apartment where she usually parks. And so she searched for another within walking distance. And then she found it. There was a space under a big tree. It was big enough to block the street lights on an already poorly lit road, that tree. So it was dark where she was going. In her memoir, Alison writes that she was looking forward to getting into bed after a cool shower, and so pulled into the parking spot and reached over to get her clean laundry basket out of the passenger seat to bring upstairs. That's when she felt a warm gust of air because her driver's side car door was being flung open.
Okay.
And standing before her was a scrawny but tall, she describes as a young man with blonde hair. Immediately, she spots a knife, and before she can complete the turn of her head, a knife is pressing against her throat, and he says, "Move over or I'll kill you." She said it felt unreal, but she just moved over into the passenger seat, and the man climbed in, and he started the engine of her vehicle. And as he pulled away, she did think about jumping from the vehicle, but she was scared, and it was unexpected, and it really just left her kind of frozen, incapacitated, right? Mm-hmm. He said, "Don't worry, I don't want to hurt you. I just want to use your car for an hour." As is common in these type of situations, she did find it really difficult to believe that she was actually being abducted at knife point. So she's just trying to stay positive, and she chooses to try and believe him at that point. He says, "What's your name?" Like it's a normal everyday conversation. Mm-hmm. She says, "Susan," not wanting to give her real name.
Okay.
And then she says, "And yours?" And he says, "Clinton." A while later, she asked him if he would just please take her car, and let her go.
Right.
And he said, "Nope, I want the company. I'm looking for a friend of mine who stole my TV."
Okay.
She tries to stay calm, but she does remember stopping at a nightclub called Club Tonight. And when they got to the club, she did think about screaming for help. There were people, but she didn't scream. And she said the presence of the people at the club where they were that late at night, it didn't comfort her. Instead, she felt like they were part of a world that the man that stole her car and was kidnapping her was walking in, and she was just an outsider. Uh-huh. So he's
like, if I had screamed, would
anybody
even help
have cared,
me anyway?
Right?
Mm-hmm.
He was looking at the people. He's clearly searching for someone, and he's getting irritated. He swears. He steers the car into an alley, and then she sees a short man dressed all in black emerging from the crowd, and he comes and gets in the car.
Okay.
The man driving, who had introduced himself as Clinton, says, "Meet my friend Susan. This is Tierns." Then they drive off. As they stop somewhere at a traffic light, Alison actually looked over at occupants of another car, and she was wishing she could give them some kind of a signal, but they didn't notice her. So she was waiting for someone just to notice her so she could do something. She was being abducted, and she knew that anyone looking we're just going to see two guys and a girl heading somewhere in a car at 1 a.m.
Right.
They were on Marine Drive, following the road past Humewood, Happy Valley, and Summer Strand. They crossed an outcropping of land, which is the Cape Recife Nature Reserve.
Okay. Clearly
heading out into nowhere.
Yeah.
Seclusion. And they're heading toward Makerskap. I'm sure somebody in South Africa knows where that is. I apologize if I pronounced it wrong.
Sure. Sounds right to me.
Inside the car, they're driving in complete silence. Tierns is smoking. Clinton's watching the road. Alison's just terrified that she knows that they're going on remote roads, that it's late, it's incredibly dark, and all of a sudden she finds herself where there are no more passing cars. There's no more cars, period. They've reached a point of seclusion where it's late enough and they're secluded enough that there's nobody else driving by.
And she's missed her opportunity to just flee from the vehicle.
Correct.
Where others would find her.
She can't jump. It's not, now there's two of them. She doesn't know what's going on. At some point, Clinton slows down and he pulls off into a small clearing. And the wheels at that point in time actually bit into the sand and the car gets stuck. And she started to panic because she was feeling like maybe she was thinking irrationally, but the only thing she could think of was that they might use her body to provide the tires with necessary grip.
Oh God.
I think this is her brain telling her how much danger she's in, even though she's not wanting to process it that way.
Right.
But the vehicle actually ends up finding something for traction, and they get their way out of the sand, but even deeper into a clearing off the road. She said, she describes this place as dirty with ash from old barbecue fires, broken bottles, discarded beer cans, and various other pieces of litter.
Oh, sounds horrible.
Someplace, I think, where people were probably just going to party.
Yeah, definitely.
Clinton turns off the engine, and then there's silence. Then Tierns gets out, and he walks away, some distance away from the two of them. And she says at this point, she looks at Clinton and says, "Now what?" And this man turns to her and he kind of looks almost dumbfounded and smug. And he says, but I thought you would have realized we wanted sex.
Oh, Jesus.
So she sits processing, realizing the intention and all of her questions are now answered.
Yeah.
They want to rape her. He
Right.
literally kidnapped her and then found his friend and drove her. And now they're going to rape her. And he looks at her and he says, are you going to fight? And Alison says she plays the scenario out in her eyes and she couldn't see herself winning any type of a
Right.
physical fight.
How do you
And
even
there's
answer
two of
that
them.
question?
And she thought to herself the same thing a lot of women do. And we're going to talk about it in a second. But she believed if they won't harm me if I just comply.
Yeah. Right.
It's not consent. It's still rape, but I'm
No.
not going to fight you. And
Yeah.
she says, no. Now, we know here in the U.S. and hopefully we're continuing to educate our public that initially it might sound strange for some people, or maybe it gets brought up as a defense a lot, that a woman would relent so easily and not at least try to protect herself. Well, in South Africa...
Do you just want to make it worse sometimes by protecting yourself? I mean, and giving them reason to be violent with you right off the bat?
I think
It's an impossible situation.
I could ask you today, any one of our female listeners or some woman off the street, what they would do in that situation. And maybe a great amount of people would say they would fight like hell. I mean, I think that's my answer. But given the circumstances and taking everything into consideration and how scared she is, you change your mind, because sometimes your mouth and that fight, fright, or flight response is going to take charge of what your brain originally processed and what your plan might have been.
For sure.
To escape an assault or a sexual assault.
Listen, I'm not a large woman.
You are not.
I'm going to rely on my brain more than my brawn.
Correct.
Right? Like I just try to keep my affect about myself, right? And like my wits about me, because I know against two men, I'm not much of a challenge, even with muscle that I have.
I think that there is no right answer in terms of what should you do if you find yourself in this situation. No. I've seen cases where women have literally played along and pretended to even like the person and talk sweetly to them and sometimes that works, right? Because you're able to de-escalate the situation and almost make these people, because rape's usually a power and a control thing, that they're in charge and they just wanted that feeling of being in charge or in control. They call them district surgeon. I assume it's kind of like maybe like our attorney generals or something, but it's the district surgeon in Africa, Dr. Werner Viljean, who examines many rape survivors, told the author here, Strom, that unless alcohol is involved in most of his rape cases that he sees, there are few signs of physical violence having been done to the women. It's you're not going to necessarily be able to do a vaginal exam and see that somebody was horribly raped in some way, shape, or form, because your body does what your body thinks it's supposed to do when you're being penetrated, even if it's against your consent.
Absolutely.
He speculates that South African women living in a country rife with sexual violence at that time, by the way, and still continuing to have problems, obviously, those of our South African listeners, I'm sure, would attest. But they've learned that fighting won't prevent the rape, but rather result in them ending up dead. So they would rather relent and live than fight and die. Yeah. The man that she knew as Clinton told her, take off your clothes. So she did.
Oh, right.
Clinton grabs her head and shoves her face into his lap, ordering him to perform oral sex on him. She feels dazed, only thinking that should try not to throw up because she doesn't want to make him angry.
Yeah, I don't know that I could. I think I might throw up.
But he was very violent while he was forcing her to perform fellatio, raping her mouth.
Right.
And she gagged. And while he was holding a knife against her head, he said, if you bite me, I will kill you. And Alison decided that she would try to hide away her emotion at this point and refused to give them the satisfaction of seeing how she felt. So he pulls her head away, and then he violates her by getting in between her legs and performing oral sex on her against her will, while asking her, does your boyfriend do this to you? Do you like it? He then moves up to her breast, where he bites her, leaving a mark, or sucks on her, leaving a mark. It just said that it left a blemish. And he smiles, and then he sticks his tongue inside of her mouth, I guess in an attempt to kiss her. And she described remembering that particular violation as tasting of nicotine, like stale cigarettes. Sure. And he says, you have the nicest tasting fanny. Fanny in South Africa, by the way, means vagina.
Oh, okay.
Also in Australia, when they say fanny, we think fanny, we think your buttocks,
Right,
but
right.
fanny is vagina for them. And then he rapes her.
Okay.
So he has penetrated her orally by raping her. He has raped her with his own mouth, and now he's actually physically, violently, penile, vaginally raping her.
Just about every one of the forms.
Almost every way. She didn't want to touch him while he was
Of course.
raping her, because remember, she isn't fighting. She's trying to save herself.
Right.
So she pushes her hands against the ceiling of the car. I'm sure you can picture that.
Yeah.
And over his shoulder, she can see his friend Tierns watching.
Gross.
And she just keeps telling herself, he's doing this to your body, Allie, but not to you. He's not actually touching you. He's just doing this to your body. And when he finishes, he sits back in the driver's seat. She feels like some time went by, but it could have just been seconds or minutes. But time is at this point relative, right?
Yeah, she's disassociated completely.
Completely.
Right.
And then he calls out to Tierns, his friend, and he says, do you also want to have sex with this lovely lady? And Tierns replies in Afrikaans something crude, what he intends to do. It never says what. And Clinton says, don't speak to her like that. She's a lady.
Interesting.
You're starting to form some opinions about him. You're going to have a ton. So Tierns walks around to the passenger's door and opens it. He kisses her. And she describes that he was only ever able to get like semi-erect, and he shoves himself inside of her anyway. So this man can't even get it up. So
That's interesting.
But isn't it telling you maybe he's not necessarily here for the rape sex part of this?
I don't think so at all.
So her description, and I think there's some other stuff that come up later, is that he's semi, like he's just still kind of soft and he's just shoving it in.
Yeah.
He rapes her only for a very short period of time, and then he pulls out, he withdraws and says, no, I can't do this.
Yeah.
He slams the door and sits on the car's hood, the bonnet, they called it.
Oh.
Then, while he's sitting on the hood, she sees him pull out a hunting knife with a blade that was about 8 inches long from his pocket.
That's why he's here.
Right?
He wasn't here for the rape at all. I mean, he couldn't even really perform it.
So really good insight into some stuff we're going to talk about, but shockingly then what happens here. So she's naked, she's vulnerable, and she's terrified of the knife, and she's pretty sure she knows why he pulls it out. So she asks Clinton, has finished with her and apparently just watched this, attempted, it was an actual rape, but his attempt to be a man thwarted by the fact that his manliness was,
Right. Did not nice.
Right.
I wish you could see her hand motion.
Because to
that
me,
she just
the whole point of the power and
there's
control of a
no vigor
rapist
there.
not being able to become erect just should say something not only about who they are as humans, but I hope that God takes away his ability to ever have an erection again.
Yes.
She asks whether she can put her clothes back on, and he actually doesn't reply to her, so she starts to get dressed.
Sure.
So Tierns is still sitting on the hood of the car, and he's starting to get like antsy with this knife, and he says, Franz. Franz is an Afrikaans name, and it sounds like France, so like Franz. And Alison stores this information. So Franz, not Clinton. He's fucked up.
Yeah.
He's called Franz, the guy that she's been knowing as Clinton. So he clearly gave a false name too. They proceed to discuss next what to do with her. And she heard them talking about how one option was just to leave her naked. So I think she's thinking, okay, they're going to leave me naked. They're going to steal my car. They're going to leave me here. Okay.
Yeah. Best case scenario.
To her at that point,
Right.
that is what she's literally wanting to have happen. Then she hears one of them ask, what do you think Nick would want us to do with her, eh? Nick is an Afrikaans version of Old Nick, literally meaning Uncle Nick, which is a euphemistic name in South Africa for the devil, for Satan.
Okay.
And the other person replies, I think he wants us to kill her.
Sure.
Alison actually didn't think that they were serious at this point. Her mind is still trying to protect her, and she thought that they were just trying to scare her.
Yeah. She's in denial.
So Franz, formerly known as Clinton, says, take off your clothes. And she has to start to undress again. And at this point, her stomach sinks. But she also still had that glimmer of hope that maybe taking off her clothes was just to scare her. And again, that they were just going to leave her there naked.
She's just trying to find all the rationale.
So she takes her clothes off.
Denial.
She remembers specifically, though, that she did leave her sandals on because she was going to need those to walk back to the city. Like she was sure they were going to take her clothes and they were going to leave her there naked. And she was thinking, I'm just going to keep my sandals, Charnell.
Yeah.
Franz ordered her to take off all of her rings. She had a whole bunch of little rings on. and he gave them the Tierns. So he redistributes all of her belongings to Tierns. And this is when she's thinking, okay, I'm being robbed now. I'm naked. I'm just in my shoes. I'm being robbed of all of my belongings. They're going to take my car. I'm going to be freed. And in a blink of her eye, Franz Clinton is on top of her violently, his hands around her neck, his fingers sinking like into the flesh around her neck. He's strangling her until his face is almost touching hers. He is so violently strangling her with his face like right up against hers.
Franz is formerly known as Clinton.
The one that
not
was
the one that was sitting on the bonnet with the knife.
No. Yes.
Okay.
And she described that his eyes at this point as two cold voids just trying to suck in hers. That was not how she was describing him before. He was trying to be charming almost.
Yeah.
I mean, disgusting and a rapist, but charming nonetheless, right?
Well,
this
he wanted
lovely
her to
lady.
comply.
Yeah, absolutely. She remembered pleading to him once, please don't kill me. And disturbingly, she remembers Franz, whose last name, as I'm going to explain more on later, is actually Dutoit. So it's Franz Dutoit. And in the moments before she lost consciousness, she remembers Dutoit saying to her quietly, sorry.
Really?
Then Alison remembered emptying her bowels completely. They evacuated.
Yeah.
And everything goes black. What followed next was an assault so violent that it defies comprehension. The two men repeatedly raped her, strangled her to the point of unconsciousness, but the strangulation wasn't enough to kill her. So they're frustrated and they take their brutality to the next level. They stab Alison at least 30 times in the abdomen.
Good God.
And she recalled later that Dutoit, Franz, Clinton, specifically was saying something or was trying to mutilate her reproductive organs. But somehow the attackers actually missed those specific parts of her body through her abdomen.
Well, typical. Don't know where anything is.
When Alison Botha's leg twitched at some point during her evisceration while they're stabbing her, Dutoit and Tierns, who we find out later's last name is Kruger, they decide the job isn't...
That's a terrible last name.
Yep, Kruger. Decide that the job isn't quite done yet, so then they slit her throat 16 times.
Jesus criminy, she's had her throat cut 16 times.
And this is where she recalls, if we're going back to where we start, all I can see was an arm moving above my face.
Yeah.
She can no longer feel pain. Left and right, his movements making a sound. A wet sound. It was my flesh being slashed open. He was cutting my throat with the knife again and again and again.
16 times.
Yes.
And stabbed over 30 in her abdomen.
Yes, ma'am.
My God.
So I'm going to take you back to where we started. If you remember, she's come to, she's decided to live, and she has now stood up, holding her organs inside of her with her jean jacket. And remember, everything went black. But she didn't pass out when everything went black. She was still conscious. And she's still standing, but unsteady. And she can't figure out, if I'm passing out, why are things going black? And then she realized what was going on. And here's your biggest trigger alert yet. Her head was falling over backwards.
Oh, fuck.
And all of the major muscles on the front side of her neck were severed, so there was nothing to keep her head upright.
Nothing holding her head up. She's going to have to do it with her
hands.
hands.
Guys, Alison uses her free hand, the one not holding her intestines, to pull her own head forward. And her vision returns, at least temporarily. So she's holding her head on her body, her neck in place, and her vision is returning, maybe blacking out here and there as she's cutting off like maybe what optic nerve how it's attached to your spinal column. And as she's struggling forward, her sight is fading in and out. She said she fell many times, but every time she managed to get up again. And at last, after what felt like an eternity to her, she sees the road. She knew that lying down next to Marine Drive wouldn't do her any good. She is so smart.
How is she still thinking?
I don't know.
I mean, I know the obvious question is how is she even still survival, alive? But wow.
One of the most strong human beings to exist ever. Type of superpower of some kind. Divine intervention, in which we're going to talk about a few times.
Most certainly.
So the first driver to come along sees her, she believes. She's close to the curve. And so she kind of lurches forward to a safer spot so that no one will run over her. And then finally, she actually lays down and she lays across the center of the road so it would be impossible for someone to not see her. She still has the wherewithal to plan how she's going to throw herself onto the ground to be found.
Yeah.
And now
Could you imagine finding someone like that, though? Wouldn't that be terrifying?
It is. And that's why you and I understand how this next person feels, okay? She does hear a car come along after that one passed, and she realized that they didn't see her because she probably looked like something dead on the side of the road.
Right,
okay?
right.
She gets in the middle of the road, and she hears a car stop, but no door open. She sticks up her hand and waves.
Oh.
Nothing. And for a moment, she actually thought that it was Franz and Tierns returning to kill her.
Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah.
But then the car, she believes, moves around her and drives away.
Oh, my God.
Well, her elation turns to panic and then sadness and then loneliness. And she still had the thoughts to justify. She puts this right in her memoir and talks to people about it, that it might have been a woman who was frightened to get out.
Yes.
And so she understands that if that was a woman that saw her,
mm-hmm.
and maybe they went someplace to call for help instead, right?
Right.
Would you, driving alone, there's a woman naked in the road, clearly blood everywhere, and her
and you
neck
can't
open.
even make sense of the wounds that she has.
And they never got out of the car, so they're even just seeing this from inside the car, and they leave.
Yes. Because what if whoever did that to her
still there?
is lurking, waiting to do it
Yeah.
to someone else?
Finally, and we don't know whether it was minutes. We have no idea how long it was. It might even have been that car did call someone or go to get help. But she does hear around her cars, like multiple, stopping. And then she hears doors opening and shutting and people talking and shouting. And then she hears a woman screaming. And it's not her.
Mm-hmm.
And then she feels what she describes as a man kneeling down beside her. And she felt this man take her hand gently. And she knew that he sounded really young, but he was so calm. And she tried to respond, but no sound would come out.
Of course.
And he told her to relax. Although Alison didn't know this at the time, an hour and a half had passed since Franz had entered her car and stolen it in her. It was already 2:45 a.m.
Holy shit. Wow.
The man that was holding her hand that found her, his name is Tian Eilert. He was a 20-year-old veterinary student.
Oh.
He'd been heading back with his friends to their campground on the last night of their holiday. And then he says what he saw was, I first saw blood, lots of thick blood on the road, and then a naked girl covered in dirt. He saw when he pulled up that her eyes were open, even though they were swollen and bloodshot, and that she was looking at him with awareness. So he's like,
right. She's alive.
She's alive.
Mm-hmm.
And then he sees the opening in her throat and he says, and everything inside it, the veins, the muscles, and her windpipe.
Oh.
It's like severed.
This poor 20-year-old. I mean, I got all teary-eyed there. I have a 20-year-old and trying to picture him stopping and finding someone in this condition and trying to be the calm in the chaos.
Can you even imagine, right?
No.
While a friend called an ambulance on his cell phone, he is checking her heart rate, which he notes is weak, and he's looking at her tongue, because he's a vet student. And it was pale, just like a sick animal would be, right?
Yeah.
Her skin was cold, and it was obvious that she'd lost a lot of blood, and there was something protruding from the gash in her throat that he actually pushed back inside of her and then used his shirt to apply some pressure to the wound.
Okay.
Tian knew that it was crucial to keep her awake and knew enough that if she drifted off, he knew she probably would never open her eyes again. So he kept talking to her gently and kept reminding her to breathe slowly. His presence was very calming on her, and she wanted him to know about her abdominal injury, but she couldn't explain it. So she was gesturing, and he responded to her gestures, and he lifts her shirt. And he describes it was horrific what he saw, but she doesn't remember him showing any reaction at all when he looked at her stomach area. He just looked back at her face and started expressing concern about the ambulance taking so long.
Sure.
And then he said another driver had happened upon the scene and had brought a blanket, so he was able to cover her up, at least to keep her warm. And so now he's applying pressure everywhere and keeping her warm.
At least.
The whole time, he is continuing to talk to her. You're going to be all right.
Oh.
Don't worry. You are not going to die on this road. I won't let you. He tells her, damn it. He tells her to squeeze his hand once for yes and twice for no.
Okay, great.
And this is how he's able to determine some details about the attack. I think he is scared at this point that he's going to lose her.
Well, of course.
And because this is not a survivable injury, but he's trying his best, right? And he's telling her she's okay, but he's also trying to find out what happened.
Sure. I can't watch you be teary-eyed.
I know, because you get teary-eyed too. This is rough.
I have heard of this case before.
I know you would as we went through it.
Yeah, but
so would I.
Didn't know all the intimate details.
Doing the deep dive, though, into her book and having her describe it, it's just a different level.
Yep.
So Alison describes getting increasingly tired and just wanting to rest. She just wants to go to sleep.
Of course, wouldn't you?
Yes.
She's lived 17 lifetimes at this point.
In 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Right.
And he's keeping her awake. And at one point he tells her, because she's just looking at him, and he says, keep those eyes open. You have the most beautiful green eyes. Aww. And she thanks him then with what he described as an amazing smile. Like she just, there's this rapport that he's built with this dying woman. And she immediately just feels this trust with him. He described it, broke his heart that she was being so brave and the ambulance wasn't fucking coming because more than an hour had passed. He's been with her for an hour in the road.
Stop it.
No, I'm swear to God, an hour has passed.
Oh my Lord.
He's just waiting for her to bleed out and die.
How is she not?
I don't know, Charnell. Well, we're going to explain how, but in the moment, I don't know.
Oh my!
Would I have even had the will to survive? I'm a survivor,
but
but that piece floating above at some point, looking down at what has been done to your body, it's what a hard choice. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
a hard choice. He keeps talking to her, and she keeps trying to remember to keep her eyes open for him. But she said she still clearly can remember that every time he would look away briefly, she'd close her eyes really quick.
like I just want to rest.
And he wouldn't let her get away with it. And he'd say, "Nope, don't close your eyes." 1 hour and 45 minutes and 4 phone calls after he had first taken her hand in his, the ambulance arrived.
Shut your face. How? I know they're in a more remote place now.
South Africa, yeah.
But
they are outside of one of the biggest cities in South Africa, Port Elizabeth.
An hour and 45
We don't know I don't know what their infrastructure is like. I don't know how many ambulances they had, how they're responding, what they're responding to.
Sounds like they had -5 ambulances.
-5, and somehow this wasn't a priority. I mean, we're talking South Africa, Port Elizabeth, rife with crime. There's like homicides all the time. Perhaps the dying woman in the middle of the road wasn't the priority at that point.
It almost makes me wonder if they knew of her injuries and were like, well, sorry, we have a better chance of saving this other person at this call than that.
And there wasn't a lot of commentary regarding or even conversation later. Like, this is the last time we mention about how long it took the ambulance to get there. It really never comes up again.
And perhaps this is because it's so common. Perhaps it's not worth conversation because this is just how it is there.
You know, those type of emergency services can only do so much with what they have. And so it's often not EMS's fault. It comes down to funding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Miraculously, him having kept her awake, she's still alive. And this is where I'm going to tell you, I firmly believe that he is divine intervention number 1. Actually, if we're going to count this in the right order, he's probably divine intervention number 2, but you're going to have to understand more before I get to that.
Well, first of all, her choice to go back into her body.
Yes, absolutely.
Is possibly number 1, or how, if we get to some specifics about the way that her, injuries happened and things like that. But yeah, she definitely was not alone in all of that.
He gets in the ambulance with her.
Oh,
and he holds her hand and he still talks to her, and he does this all the way to the casualty unit, which is the ER of Provincial Hospital. She was wheeled in, and he told her, "I will be waiting for you when you wake up from surgery." So he literally got in the ambulance with her and is going to wait with this young woman. They've clearly formed a bond. Well,
he is what's called an earth angel.
Yes, I agree. So, the anesthetist, his or her name, I apologize, is Dr. Komen, voices his concern that a specialist would be needed for Alison's injuries.
Sure.
And the doctor on call is a Dr. Volodya Angelov. And it just so happens that Dr. Angelov states, you don't need a specialist because I happen to be a thoracic surgeon. And he was able to perform the operation she needed.
Divine intervention
number 2.
For sure.
Okay. Dr. Komen puts his hand on her head and says, "Don't worry. We're going to take care of your breathing. When you wake up, everything will be over. You can relax now." And then she was finally able to close her eyes and go to sleep.
Oh, blessed be. Okay.
Dr. Angelov would later state he had never seen someone with injuries and in the condition that she was in his 16 years practicing as a doctor.
Oh, I imagine not. Because usually these injuries go to the morgue. Not to the surgeon.
Oh, very correct. very correct. And he describes her injuries her in general as follows. She was filthy, and this is a quote. Sure. She was filthy, black as a coal miner. Her entire body was covered in a fine layer of black sand. Her eyes had hemorrhaged and were blood red. Her hair was matted with sand, twigs, leaves, and dried blood. Her knees were cut and scraped. Her feet were lacerated, and her fingernails were black. Her throat had been cut basically from ear to ear, a wound measuring about 4 inches and deep enough for him to see her spinal column through her neck.
Oh, son of a gun.
By some miracle, her carotid arteries and her voice box had been missed, but pretty much everything else had been severed. So the anterior muscles, the trachea, her larynx, and all the major veins. The something that Tian had pushed back in her wound when he stopped to apply pressure was actually her thyroid.
Oh, okay.
It had been cut in half, and all the doctors agreed she should have died from that injury, since even a nick to the thyroid is very serious and potentially fatal.
Oh, my gracious.
She should also have died from drowning in her own blood.
Yes.
Divine intervention 3, or maybe 1. That's why I said if you worked yourself backwards, because the injuries happened first.
I would
somehow
definitely
her
think
body,
one.
something intervened to allow those
very
specific injuries to somehow have missed
How do you
the
be
vital
cut
parts.
from ear to ear and not get your carotid?
I don't know. I mean, I've watched too many assassin movies where they just come up and do a quick across the throat and they're done and out.
Right.
There were numerous stab wounds to her abdomen. What did we say, like 30 or something? Her intestines had been ruptured or punctured in several places.
I'm sure.
They not only had to carefully wash all of her innards in a saline solution to clean all the dirt and sand and other foreign matter out, but every break in the surface had to be discovered and stitched.
I wondered about that, about the sand and how dirty everything is. How did they clean her well enough?
Flush her entire body cavity out with saline and just look constantly for all of these nicks and such. After she was in surgery for 3 hours to close the wounds to her throat and stomach.
That's all?
Yep.
I'm actually shocked.
And they fixed what they could with her intestines at that point. She was clearly in critical condition. And their biggest concern at that point is septicemia risk. Yeah. It's that risk of sepsis because of the abdominal injury.
Yeah.
And they were worried that the wound to her throat could actually become swollen and asphyxiate her. And as a result, she was placed in the high care unit, which is our version of an ICU.
Not just to mention the infection
and
risk.
Watched continuously. Yeah, the sepsis risk, watching continuously. Her attempted murderers are still at large. Like, she's going to be watched closely.
Saying infection even from some of those small wounds that she had. Forget about, it just, oh my gosh.
So she does wake up later that morning. And for the first time, felt pain. She said every single nerve in her body, but she was alive. Her mom, who'd been such a large motivation for her fight to live, remember she wrote, I love Mom in the sand, came in to see her. And then her dad arrived from Johannesburg, and her first words to him were, "Daddy, please don't worry about me."
Oh, gosh.
And the reason I put that in there from her quote from her memoir is that everyone describes this as a hallmark of Alison. She always was one who was thinking of others first and herself second. Tian, her savior, had also visited, which was a very emotional reunion. She felt very close to him and that he really understood what she had gone through since he had fought such a large part of her struggle right beside her. Yeah. Remember, she was alone from 1 a.m. to 2:45 a.m. as she was being raped and mutilated and attempted to have been murdered and struggled herself to the road. But the other 1 hour and 45 minutes, he was with her waiting for her to die and holding her hand. Right. And then he went with her to the hospital and stayed there.
Yeah, that is her earth angel. And they recognized each other because truly they know each other.
Although rape was very much still in 1994 in South Africa a hush crime.
Okay.
Alison was completely open about every aspect of her attack from the start, including the rapes. She did not feel guilty. She did not feel ashamed. And this is incredibly important in her case specifically. She didn't buckle to what they described as the quiet shame of national crisis when it comes to sexual assault in South Africa.
Good.
This was an epidemic in terms of the number of sexual assaults. And then the flowers started arriving.
I think after you survive something like that, fuck social politeness or any sort of fear about what other people think of you. You kidding me? I carried my intestines to a middle of
and I held my head on.
Exactly. Give me a break.
So that's the thing, right? I think people are like, holy shit, she was raped, which was, we usually wouldn't talk about that. But this woman is survived being eviscerated and attempted to be decapitated.
Yes, exactly.
So flowers are coming, bunches of flowers, baskets of flowers, bouquets of flowers, cards, notes, gifts. And she said before long, she said, if I wouldn't have been hooked up to machines and tubes and surrounded by nurses, I would have thought I was living in a florist shop. This was just an initial indication of the tremendous impact that she would come to have on the people of Port Elizabeth and very soon the entire country of South Africa.
Mm-hmm. Probably a lot of those flowers are from other rape victims too.
I bet. So I'm going to introduce you to Detective Nadia Swainpool.
Okay.
She's assigned to the case and she has a hunch. We like Nadia. In fact, she was pretty sure she knew exactly who was responsible for the attack on Alison.
No shit. Okay.
She arrives at the hospital with a thick police album containing numerous black and white mugshots.
Uh-huh.
So they're black and white. Can you picture like old school
Yes.
mugshots? And Alison describes this. She said she was certain she would be able to identify Franz and Tierns. After all, she'd consciously stored every detail about them. She didn't try to repress it. She remembered everything.
Right.
However, when she was confronted with what she describes as a sea of swimming black and white faces, it started to get daunting. And she is turning page after page, and she's worried that her memory is going to fail her. But then she sees it. It stands out just like it's in color, Franz's face.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going to introduce you to the devil, Franz du Toit.
Okay.
You're not getting all the information about him yet, but you're going to get some of it.
Okay.
Dr. Swainpool, I mean, we're not going to hold this against Nadia. When she...
Doctor or detective?
Detective Swainpool. Mm-hmm. Literally, I promoted her. She is so excited when Alison identifies Franz. She literally, they describe it as doing a few dance of excitement. And she's like, I knew it.
Listen, I've been there in investigations before when somebody is able to confirm a hunch for me. I'm like, yes, that is what it feels like. I knew it.
Well, because of her ability to identify and Swainpool sees that's this person she knows who she suspected around 5 a.m. on Monday morning, December 19th. So she's found on the 18th. This is the 19th, first thing in the morning. Franz du Toit and Tierns Kruger were arrested. 2 hours later, Detective Melvin Humple was called to head the investigation. And Melvin's going to be around for a while now. Okay. You're going to hear mostly from him because the good Detective Swainpool turns it over to Detective Melvin.
Okay.
He's the head guy. He had 16 years of experience, and this was going to be a high-profile case. And shocking to no one, I assume, Alison had not actually been the pair's first victim.
Yeah, imagine that. I'm noticing a number in 16, by the way.
Okay.
I just 16 years was how long the surgeon had been operating. 16 years of experience for the. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of them in
There's
here.
a lot of 16s.
Well,
which also is a divine number, just in case you wanted to know. Is 16 a divine
number?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get all kinds of numbers here. On the evening of February 25th, 1994, so this is 9 months prior?
Right, because this is December,
10 months
right?
prior? Yeah. A 20-year-old student had been sitting in her car outside of a pizza parlor in the Central District of Port Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
Franz du Toit appeared beside her, very much like he had done with Alison, and ordered her to move over while he got behind the wheel. On this occasion, however, he didn't have a knife. He had a gun. And also, he was alone. So this one, you just need to keep in mind that he was alone.
Okay.
As they drove off, she started to cry. And then she decided, this victim, whose name is not given, and I'm not going to state it.
Right.
Because it was not released publicly here.
Yeah, that's how I do.
She actually is smart enough to decide to talk about herself a little in the hopes that he wouldn't hurt her if he got to know her.
Yeah.
So this is actually a technique that the author here is smart enough to know hostage negotiators employ often. Mm-hmm. And I know this from work as well. Mm-hmm. It's where you try to get your captors or violators to view you as a real person and to become human. Attached to you.
Get a connection.
Well, the part where it's going to deter him from raping her, that doesn't work. He does, in fact, rape her after he parks the car someplace in Nordhook. She remains passive while he's raping her and just is pleading with him not to kill her. And that part worked. He doesn't kill her.
Okay.
Instead, he drives to a roadside cafe where he bought her a sandwich and a twisted pastry soaked in syrup called a koeksister and a rose.
How nice.
And du Toit.
Oh, rose.
A rose.
A little dessert, a sandwich, dessert, and a rose.
Yes.
Do you think we're on a date?
I think he does.
Yeah.
Because then du Toit talks about his own sister, and he says that he would kill any man who raped her.
Oh, Jesus.
Then he drives to a spot near the Pine Lodge Holiday Report where he raped her again and ordered him to tell him that she loved him.
Yeah, he thinks that they're on a date.
And then finally, he drives back to the city and he leaves her at a place called the Beach Hotel with the words, "You're an amazing person, and I hope I can make it up to you sometime."
Oh, my God.
As she testified later at trial, which we will get to. And this was reported in Die Burger Ooskap, which is a newspaper in South Africa. That was June 13th of 1995.
Okay.
When they reported that. This woman was terrified and ashamed at first, and she actually initially did not tell anyone, but she did finally tell a friend a week later.
Wow.
Her friend convinced her, and this is not abnormal, you guys.
Right.
Her friend convinced her to report the crime, and DeToy does get arrested the following month.
Okay.
So on March 15th of 1994, he appears in the magistrate's court. That's like me. That's like the district court where they're going to set bonds and stuff, where he was released on a bail of R100, which is 100 South African rands, which is the equivalent of 5 cents on the US dollar, $16.40. But I'll admit I didn't math that myself. I believed the math that was posted.
Okay. Yikes.
Pretty low bond, huh?
Yeah.
DeToy,
I'd say.
DeToy strikes again on December 4th of 1994.
December 4th, just like 2 weeks before Alison.
Interesting, right? Just 2 weeks before. But this time he was with his friend, Terrence Kruger.
Ugh.
Their victim was a 21-year-old woman who was 3 months pregnant.
Oh, God.
DeToy pushed a gun against her stomach, and she does tell him at this point that she's pregnant, and he tells her to shut up and walk. Kruger follows, as he does, with his limp little dick. They take her to an isolated area where DeToy molests her, and then Kruger rapes her. And after Kruger rapes her, DeToy orders her to provide fellatio to him, orders him to her to have oral sex with him. When she gags, he rapes her again.
Okay.
She complained that it was hurting while he was raping her. This is like the third time she's been violated, and she pleads with him that he's injuring the baby. But DeToy only orders her to shut up again, and he tells Kruger to push and hold her hands down, and he continued raping her. Afterwards, Terrence and DeToy, they discuss in front of her, much like they did with Alison, whether they're going to kill her or not.
Okay.
And then they finally decide to let her go. On her way home, she's walking home presumably alone by herself at this point, having been raped at least 3 times and ordered to perform fellatio, which is the 4th rape. She sees a police van, and she stops the officers and tells them what happened. Both DeToy and Kruger are arrested.
What?
On December 5th, the next day, so they are arrested that night. They're able to get them arrested. They appear in the magistrate's court. They were released on their own recognizance, provided that they return to court on January 5th. So, a month later.
Honey, no.
So they're released on a PR bond.
Oh, can you imagine Alison learning this for the first time?
Oh, she does. 2 weeks after they left the courtroom on that arraignment, on that PR bond for what would be Franz's known second rape.
Absolutely.
And Terrence's, second one colluding with his little butt buddy there.
Oh my gosh.
Is when Alison is kidnapped, raped, brutalized, and left to die. It's 2 weeks after they left that courtroom.
Can we say, though, thank goodness they did not stab the pregnant girl's abdomen, too?
We can say
like
that.
They did Alison's?
Yes, we can say that.
Oh, I just can't imagine for any of these women having to go through this, but then also being Alison and learning, hey, just so you know, this is why the detective knew so quickly who it was.
Because they are out on bond.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the courts being under fire a little bit here.
I would hope so.
Well, naturally, when it became known that the 2 men that were responsible for Alison Botha's brutal attempted murder, and she is all over the front pages, and people are pretty interested in her. Clearly, she's getting a lot of attention.
As she should be. Truly.
And not just Port Elizabeth, the entire country of South Africa. Yeah. Then they found out, the public, that these 2 have been on bail, one of them for 2 previous attacks, the other currently on bond for 1. All hell breaks loose around the courts. Dula Omar, the Minister of Justice, contacts the Attorney General of the Eastern Cape in South Africa, requesting an investigation and a report. Don Petersi, a president of the district court. So that's weird. I don't have a president of the district court, but that's clearly how their government is set up.
Sure.
And then Nick Bester, who is the acting chief magistrate, so the chief judge in charge, the head DIC of Port Elizabeth, released a statement in defense of the court's actions. Now listen, you're always going to find a reason to try to defend yourselves. And he actually gives some interesting insight. The following section was quoted in Die Bürger, Uskap, which is that newspaper, December 22nd, 1994. Quote, "It has to be borne in mind that in accordance with the Constitution, an accused has the right to be released from custody with or without bail, unless it is not in the interest of justice. The state, and this includes the police, has to prove that the interest of justice will be impeded in order to prevent release. This can only be done if the investigating officer provides the prosecutor with enough evidence, and if the prosecutor then presents the evidence to the court."
So we're blaming the police officer for not providing enough evidence to the prosecutor, or are we blaming the prosecutor for not providing enough evidence to the court?
Yes. Yes to both.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, the author of this article agrees with us now, and his opinion is his thought is, you see what's in front of you and what's alleged with the rapes, right?
Yeah.
He said there's only one crime more serious than rape, and that's murder.
Yes.
And no one accused of either of those things should ever simply be released on their own recognizance on a PR.
Like, I don't understand. How much more information did you actually require?
Well, he says, and I agree in the least, some time should be allowed the investigating officer to determine the merits of the case and the criminal history of the suspects. And if an accused is going to be released on bail, it should be a proper amount, not R100, a pittance.
Yes.
Which is spitting, he said, quote unquote, the author, spitting in the face of any woman who's ever been raped.
I was going to say something very, very similar. Yes.
So here we are, Charnell, and this is what I look at. We're weighing the risk of potential harm to the public, the alleged victim, who's the victim of Tiern's only has one prior victim. Franz's two priors alleged are out here living in fear. Those people could be put harm, as well as the public. You have to weigh that against the other factor. What? They're not likely to appear in court. Good job, guys, that they come to court every time.
Wow.
But we know that rapists, they are probably more likely to reoffend than a murderer. Than somebody just going out to murder.
Yep.
So,
God,
take this into account. Although there's no proof that's ever been shown, but in the time that this is happening, there were 3 more rapes of women ranging in age from 16 to 24 reported within those 2 days. The cases were found to not be related to each other or to Detroit or Kruger, but the news was definitely met with outrage because now you know that South Africa has this epidemic of this just almost social norm of rape, and people are finally becoming outraged because they have a hero, they have a survivor, a superhero of a very significant attack. At that time in South Africa, statistically, per the author's research, women had a better chance of being raped than not being raped at some point.
Holy shit.
That's how bad this was at that point in time.
Oh my gosh. That's hard to fathom.
It is hard to fathom. It really is. I mean, I think that there are some
especially
percentages.
in such a high populated place.
I'm sure there's some rife with crime though. I mean, percentages and statistics to show that, what is it, like 1 in 4 women or something have some type of a non-consensual or unconsented to act that happened to them. They don't necessarily call it a rape because it really could have been a number of different things. And right now the law is pretty clear on what constitutes rape, but definitely certain unwanted touchings or pressure or date rape situations or alcohol-induced lack of memory and no consent type situations, right?
Yep.
Well, on December 27th, Les Roberts, who is the Attorney General of the Eastern Cape, announces that the manner in which bail applications are handled would be improved. We're going to see some good things happen from this. Better communication between police officers and prosecutors would be a particularly prominent feature of this. In the first case, DeToy was released because he had a permanent address and stable employment. And since the woman had waited a week before reporting the attack, there was no physical evidence. So, as we still have issues with today, the delayed reporting, which we know happens for so many reasons, just like domestic violence that I've talked to you about before, it was used to weigh a bond determination. Okay, we don't use delayed reporting as a bond determination factor, by the way, here. And I know some judges someplace might, but I do not. That is not in my factors for consideration, okay? The crime is the brutality of the crime, the potential for risk to the victim themselves or for the public or public safety at large. Those are things I take into account. After the second rape, both suspects are arrested and taken to a different police station than the one they were taken to before. So they are brought before the court the next morning without an investigating officer having been assigned to the case.
Okay.
Remember, she went up and found a police truck and they go and arrest them. This isn't one where there's detectives involved. So the prosecutor didn't realize that one of the accused they have in front of them as they're going to the magistrate's court for bond in the morning was actually being investigated for another rape. So he didn't oppose bail. Les Roberts, the AG, was quoted in Die Burger on December 28th of 1994 saying that, quote unquote, the prosecutor in the second case did not have the knowledge of the first. He had no reason to suspect that Mr. Dutoit had already been released with a warning in relation to the previous rape charge. So there's evidence of some major system failures here.
Yeah.
He says, of course, had the prosecutor done some research on the type of criminals he was prosecuting, he would have known that rape is a crime of violence, which is usually seated in some underlying psychological motive, and therefore rapists tend to have excellent chances of both having raped before and raping again. Including while on bond.
Yes.
The author here quotes, and I'm repeating it as it's written with credit to him because he literally took the words out of my mouth. Quote, such an informed prosecutor would then suspect previous charges of rape and should be motivated to ascertain whether this is the fact which is in fact the case. Armed with such knowledge, he or she then can present the court with the appropriate evidence, thereby saving another innocent woman from having to deal with the trauma of rape for what usually tends to be an extended period of time.
You think? Yep, exactly. You know what the problem is here that I just don't think is taken? I mean, maybe it is now, but it wasn't previously. Any act of violence or crime that happens due to a pleasure principle in the brain, you guys, your pleasure principle, you can't change it. You can't stop it from happening. And I'm not saying, these are not excuses. What I'm saying is this shows why you're more likely to continue to reoffend even when facing criminal charges, even when on bond for criminal charges, because it is the pleasure principle of your brain driving your actions. And it is truly a risk factor.
It is. And we're going to talk in part 2 pretty extensively. I think you and I will have some good conversation about it. And I know that you have a really great psychological background when it comes to some of this stuff about reasons that people rape and that power piece. And there really are different types of rapists who do things for different reasons. Sometimes rape is never the intention. It's not what you're, again, the power piece, what you're getting off on.
No.
Sometimes it is. There are some people who are just completely sexually motivated and that was their intention.
Right.
So, and I think we've talked a lot already about, that clearly this Franz is fucked up, right?
Yeah,
I mean, the things that he did with the other person already, the young lady, the unnamed lady, the first one.
Yes.
I mean,
He has some.
Makes her tell him he loves him.
Right.
She loves him.
Takes
her out for food and gets her a flower before he goes and rapes her again.
Yeah, exactly.
But he spared her life this time, right?
No, he's got some clear psychological issues.
Well, I'm going to stop there for part 1.
Okay.
I do have a brain bath for you.
Okay.
I hope that all of our cops, our law enforcement guys out there find this as funny as I do.
Okay.
And most of you who either know or have worked with, or really if you just know any police officer, might find this funny to some extent. So I took this from Cop Humor off of Facebook. I'm not going to endorse everything that they post on that page, by the way.
Sure.
And some of it's incredibly offensive even to me, but this is funny.
Okay.
This is just how to tell where a cop works.
Okay.
So narcotics, these are your old school and now retired narcs officers though. Immediately grew facial hair and told everybody they were ordered to. Wear black Harley Davidson t-shirts, dirty Levi jeans, and they buy a biker wallet with a big chain. Dude, I know these
Those
guys.
are the narcotics
I know
dudes?
the guys, the old school ones or the ones that are now retired.
Oh, that's funny.
They practice the don't acknowledge me even while in the police station look. They think their shit don't stink and even the chief worships them. They make every case involve overtime. They rate the hotness level of cranker chicks and have tried to date at least one at one time.
Okay, this sounds right.
Their undercover car was a 92 Camaro and they try to play golf drunk. Now, current narcotics officers, that's going to be like our new guys, right?
I know what's coming. I know what you're about to describe.
Narcotics unit just got reinstated when Trump was elected, except in blue states where most drugs were decriminalized. This is not political on my part.
No, right.
Already has facial hair from patrol.
Right.
Immediately shave their head and watch Cicero and other cartel movies. They wear skinny jeans and a size schmedium UFC
That's what
t-shirt.
I was waiting for right there.
They're off duty at 5 p.m. Overtime is limited. Their undercover car is a rental van. They practice the don't acknowledge me even when in the police station look, so that remains the same.
It does.
And they also think their shit doesn't stink and even the chief worships them. They don't play golf, but they do play Ghost Recon Wildlands. Okay, SWAT. Wear hut team t-shirts, size medium to accent pecs and biceps, Oakley sunglasses and desert tan boots every day.
Yes.
Try to fit the word breach and tactical into every conversation. Example, I just breached my pants. That was so funny. They shave their head and grow a operator beard. They go on a strict chicken and rice and no carb after 6 p.m. diet. They never say hello to anyone who is not SWAT. Just practice the SWAT head nod and don't make any eye contact. They've dated half the females at the department, even one of the lesbians, and they openly brag about it. They subscribe to Soldier and Fortune, Guns and Ammo, and Muscle and Fitness magazines. They pleasure themselves over their gun collection. And they do everything together with their SWAT mates, including showering and clothing optional wrestling.
Oh, my God.
They learn to play golf wearing a gun, a tactical knife, and 2 backup guns, just in case.
Yes.
I'd like to now introduce you to the social media unit at your police force agencies. They hate SWAT.
Right.
They spend a whole 6 months in patrol. They get unlimited overtime. They're constantly checking their influencer pages. They work to make everyone love them. They think camera ready at all times. They constantly practice dance moves and lip syncing in case they need to post something on
Just
YouTube.
in case.
They got promoted by 25 and they learned to play mini golf. School resource officers, if not defunded. Let me tell you about them.
I can't wait. They're all
They
hot.
are up to date with current slang and routinely say bangin', sus, riz, bussin'.
That's right.
They wear a polo shirt and 5'11" pants. They bring a basketball to work.
Yep.
They're oddly cool with the kids.
Yes.
Some disturbingly. They know all the current drug trends. They're regularly frustrated because kids don't expel kids and the admin is reluctant to discipline them. They have a mean golf game. They golf a lot.
Doesn't say anything about the moms thirsting after them.
No, it doesn't.
I can't. Let me add
the thirst trap piece.
That's
because I know who the SRO is at the one you're talking about, and I know exactly who that is. And bam,
the moms go crazy.
Well, he's pretty nice looking.
And then during the football games, he saunters on the track. And
our police family that's going to listen to this is going to know exactly who you're talking about, and they're going to make his head real big.
I know.
So.
I know. No, it cracks me up because I like to watch all the women in the stands.
Watch him,
and their heads, everyone's head just turns.
Oh yeah,
cracks me up. But he's not the only one that I've known that fits that description. Where I'm like, God, did they just? Yes.
Okay. I mean, I know of another SRO from a different town, and he was lovely and sweet, but I wouldn't put him in
describe
that
him in that category. Mm-hmm.
No. Let me tell you about the traffic unit.
Okay.
They write tickets to everyone. I mean everyone.
Yes.
Including their parents. They learn to make other cops hate them. They spend every weekend cleaning their bike and polishing boots. They annoy the shit out of everyone on the radio by having complete disregard for everyone else's radio traffic. They yell out their early morning traffic stops, waking up all the sleepy third watchers trying to get some rest. They talk about nothing but how many tickets they wrote in one day, and they meet their goal by 11 so they can work out the rest of the day. Constantly rides by a building with big windows and gets aroused when checking out their own reflection. They refer to the patrol degenerates as car cops. LBR, look, bitch, and riding, is your mantra. Many even have this as a tattoo on their lower backs. They think golf is lame and motor rodeos are cool.
Oh my God.
Canine units. And I know some of you guys, and I love you. Become sadistic. Shows pictures of their latest and best dog bite.
Of course.
Their Facebook and Instagram profile pic is of a dog.
Yes.
Dog may actually have own Instagram page.
Yes.
They brag about their largest drug find. They smell like a dog. They start to look like their dog.
Yes.
They work their dog out 3 times a day. Other people start sneezing when they come around. They show off their bruises and bites, even when it's on their ass. Let me talk to you about police that are administrative or management units.
Oh, let's.
They have 3-hour lunches every day and tell everyone it's a meeting. They upgrade department cell phones every month. They trade stocks on department time. They tell everybody that they're published in a national law enforcement magazine. Has sold soul and lost balls years ago. They have an awesome pen set. They wear expensive suits and watches. They update their revenge lists on a weekly basis. They're an expert at PowerPoint, bar charts, and graphs, and they shit a brick when Ashley Madison accounts went public.
Oh, I bet.
They know how to properly disable their GPS tracking systems in their cars and cell phones and not get caught so they can secretly meet with their mistresses. They're guilty of most of these and are currently reading this saying, must have been written by patrol. Golf rules. Play lots of golf. Golf, golf, golf.
Golf, golf, golf.
Patrol unit. Has nerves of steel. In a terminal state of nausea from department politics and toxic management.
Yes.
Constantly looking to get the fuck out of police work and count days until retirement, even if they're in their early 30s. They have an inability to keep their mouth shut. They're addicted to zins.
Oh my God, yes.
They have defining tastes in alcohol. And the higher the seniority, the further back you sit in briefing. They're actually respected by their peers. They miss the old Crown Vics. And they beat the shit out of their caddy at golf because on any bogeyed shot. Field training officer. Automatically grasps the door handle until knuckles turn white when the car is put in gear. Considers a multiple victim homicide a good training opportunity and asks to take primary. They have a lifelong case of IBS. They consider less than 3 hours of overtime to be a quiet day. They might buy migraine medicine by the case, and they have no time for golf.
And probably Tums.
I'm almost done.
By the way.
And Tums. Detectives come in at 08.
I was going to say, what about the detectives?
They come in at 0800.
Okay.
Breakfast from 8:15 to 10:30. Workout from 10:30 to noon. Noon to 1400, workout and lunch. 1400 to 1700, sit in CID and talk about how many girlfriends you have and how the wife doesn't know. Plan your next RV, fishing, wine tasting, or motorcycle trip.
Oh, how I wish Detective Wes was here with us today.
Patrol sergeant remembers very well how he used to do it. Always willing to tell his officers the above. Tries to fit the word liability into every sentence. Talks about what he's hearing from upstairs and has a list of all the golf courses to visit when he finally gets to retire. The trainee, unable to grow facial hair.
Yes.
Has watched every episode of Cops.
Of course.
Gets really excited when the SWAT guys walk by. Arrives for work 3 hours early. Thinks his sergeant's actually thrilled to see him and won't drink on the golf course because it violates the open container ordinance. The new corrections officers show up to work 15 minutes early, buy only the best ink pens, Pilot G2, not the kind admin uses. Wear t-shirts of your dream department under your uniform, probably SWAT. Wear a full duty belt of gear, even though you have to remove everything when you arrive at the facility, and they become friends with every local police officer.
Yes.
Your defensive tactics instructors start stretching before making an arrest. They can spend hours debating the advantage of a RCB versus straight stick. They wear yoga pants off duty. Chuck Norris is their god. They did spend more than $50 on a wood baton. They giggle when a suspect starts to resist. And they've confused their golf swing with a baton swing before.
Sure.
Oh, good God. The firearms instructor responds to every question statement with, huh? Has a lead blood level higher than the current chief's approval rating. Operates under the assumption that the more beer you drink, the more the lead leaves your system.
Sure.
They think a new tactical handgun is a great Christmas gift for their wife or girlfriend.
Of course.
They have an image of a custom 1900 A1 for a screensaver. They wear the latest high-tech electronic hearing protectors during normal conversation, and they still can't hear. They'd rather go to the range than golf. And last but not least is the bicycle unit.
Oh, tell me about the bicycle
They shave their legs just because they need an excuse to shave their legs.
Of course they do.
Dignity, they don't have that. They wear a size medium uniform shirt with level 4 vest and spandex shorts. Mm-hmm. Looks like a stuffed sausage.
Yep.
Thinks teens are laughing because they're excited to see him. Facebook profile and desktop pic is a cool bike photo. Owns a DVD collection of Pacific Blue, the TV series. Actually got butthurt during bike patrol scene in the 21 Jump Street movie.
I was just going to say, do they like the 21 Jump Street movie?
And
this is what they described, though.
They think they look cool in a bike uniform, including the helmet, and they don't golf because you can't fit clubs on a bicycle. And that's all about cops
loved
today.
That.
If I've offended any of you, I don't care. It was funny.
It was funny. Not everyone fits that description, but I'm telling you, Channing Tatum looked great in those bicycle
like
pants.
Like a stuffed sausage.
Yes.
So
that's immediately who I thought of.
I know.
Well,
those of you that are Patreons, you get to listen to part 2 immediately.
You do.
For your listening pleasure. And if any of you are not Patreon members and can't wait a full week to hear part 2 of this really amazing survivor story, you can join Patreon.
Sure can. There's a link right in the show notes. You can join it, listen, enjoy all the other hundreds of Patreon episodes that are on there as well. If you would like, you can have a little Crime Curious binge fest.
Oh, I do that
Take
all
us
the time.
along with you.
Sometimes for feel-good reasons.
Yep.
We do more feel-good stories if you're a Patreon. So
Yes.
Well,
Yes, we do.
You want to close us out?
Sure. We hope that you keep it curious.
And keep listening.
Until next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.